Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy Take TV podcast. We are here for the end of round 7. Bit going on the weekend. We'll get to that in a sec, George, but there was a debacle over in South Australia. Not only the game, but to do with one player, which we'll get to. But how'd you go first for the week, mate? What were your trades and what'd you score?
What worth noting is we're just us two, I think, today, unless JD wants to join. I think he's out celebrating his 1K rank. That always his kid's birthday, but either way, this week 2,324 ranked, 16K, so just chipping away. It's a bit of a mountain to climb, and slowly getting there. How high we go, not too confident, but we'll see how we go. Trades were got rid of Cowan, Davey, and McKenna. So not really happy about getting rid of McKenna now, but is what it is. And then ultra budget option in Will Day, Sam Sturt, and Seamus Mitchell in. 2 of those guys were subbed, so that didn't work. But I guess you can see why I went to upcoming. I'm a little bit concerned about rookies. Thought he had good job security. Now Fife might come back in. Might be another corpse on the bench, but fingers crossed. So yeah, it's just one of those weeks where most things go right, and you only need 1 or 2 things to go horrifically wrong. So Setterfield, Van Ruin, and Fergus Green just absolutely tanked my score, completely. I think I scored 110 between 3 players or something. So if I could only fix that, that would be nice. And yeah, we got here our MVP and fault of the week. So fault is a common term in the Discord. If someone's playing badly, we call them a fault. So fault is Setterfield, just a very painful own. Still getting the CBAs, but not playing well. And MVP, a few I could pick from, but I'll go with the legendary shinboner Jack Zeeble for being a 32-year-old, having a bit of an injury, getting back on, and getting it done. So that was very nice.
I missed the game. So what happened to him?
There was reports of hamstring. There was reports of quad. And then I believe they said it was ankle, I think. So I don't actually know. And he's getting scans this week.
So what, was he dead or something?
He went down into the rooms, talking to the doctor, came back on, was warming up, and then, played and just junked it up for the rest of the game. So it was on 20 at halftime. So, MVP goes to Zeeble. Slightly trying to stitch you up there with I know you don't have him, but...
No, when someone's at 20 at halftime, that happens. That's probably fair.
Like him and Laird
by 100. Yeah, Laird too. That's MVP as well.
I was looking at the DT scores, and old Aaron Hall with a 140 DT back to the well. So, interesting there. But
too upset I missed those games on Saturday night. But
how'd you go?
I know. Like you said, So I think it's almost the last 5 rookies I've traded in. And look, you've got another one there in Sturt. They're just all gone to hell. Some at their own fault. I think MJ actually could be a decent rookie for us, but obviously 30 the first week we got him, and then now suspended for 2 weeks. You get almost 20 touches, didn't he? Maybe high 10 in the end.
He did okay. Dropped a few marks, but yeah.
And then I think did he give away 50? I don't know. I didn't catch all of that game either, but. So he's looking okay, but the rest, Sturt, you've got obviously Roberts injured.
Seamus sub, so we all got him.
Yeah, Seamus sub. We'll see. There's just a lot of defenders at Hawthorn. But yeah, look, as you said, that's a reason why he went for Sturt, and you can see this week. That's why I left Chin Cotter for this week, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be confident getting anyone. So, fair play if people got Chin Cotter and fielded him, but who do they downgrade to this week? That's my question. You might be getting another dead body. So
there's some there, but we can speak about that.
There's some. We'll speak about it at the end. But yeah, my score 2360 and into 2.7K. So I was 1K a couple of weeks ago. 2 captain put me at the 4, and then back into 2.7. So that's really the only round that's cost me this year. And I think round 2 was whatever happened. I had a really poor one. So most other weeks have been all right, just above par, but par is very, very high these days, and I guess especially in the Discord, there's a lot of people going well. So I was going to bring that up in a sec, but we'll just go over JD's score, I guess. You can also watch his video, but he had a big, big week. So, I mean, JD was saying to me 2 weeks ago, we're riding Enno's team for the year, and two weeks he's gone past me and put 300 points or something over the last 2 weeks. So he's I think he got 24.46, and now he's in the top 1K. So it shows if you have a couple of good weeks, you can make up some ground. But you do have to know your trades, and I think he brought track in this week, which we'll talk about later.
Good time for the matchup.
Good timing. Then he was a fan of Will Day, which probably got me across the line. He was one of the people too, because I wasn't totally sure of it. Look, 30 touches and didn't ton is quite annoying, but I think he had a quiet last quarter from what I hear.
Played forward in the second quarter as well.
Yeah. Anyway, so I got Took out, McKenna and Wilmot. I know you said as well, McKenna a bit disappointing, trading him out, but I did the same with Chandler last week. I know you had to watch him without him at all times.
Can't do this, bro.
I even said I was expecting a good run from him, but I wanted to force Took so bad, and there's a lesson there that I didn't need to. And look, Took got injured. You can't predict that, but I could have kept him, got a cheaper premium like a Cogs or someone from, a worse rookie and still have McKenna and I'd still have Chandler probably. So, and we need him right now. What we're fielding, I have to cop Seamus is 40 and Radical is 40. So
there's a big gap. There's a big gap between those who can get this shit off the field early and those who can't. So, honestly, I still can't believe I fielded a 20 and a 30 this week. It's just ridiculous. And anyway, but that's what happens when you. I guess we'll come in. I'm thinking, well, Roberts is putting up monster numbers in the VFL. Maybe he's one I can field for a bit. He goes down. JVR's North can field him. He shits the bed. So it's a cash crisis, as everyone's saying at the moment. So bit of a recession.
I better not forget the MVP and the fault. And look, the fault Setterfield, he can have all the faultiness. And that's my, obviously, stuff up of this season, going him over Zeeble at the round 3 sort of junction. I made a good move the week before getting Chandler in to allow myself to make 3 good moves in week 3. And I didn't make one of them, or one of them wasn't. So bit duped there. Zeeble was just a lot safer. And look, I guess he's getting scans this week. We'll see what happens there. But that was part of it. 32, I didn't want to go, but it is a pretty easy role, and he's shown that nothing really matters. In North, after the first 2 weeks, they're back to what they sort of were, and they're losing big time every week. So
no LDU being
they got an extra
is a big problem.
That is a massive problem. But they got a third Kang Bro down there now. They're triplets, and they're still all scoring, so it doesn't matter. MVP is a bit of a hard one because I don't have anyone that totally stands out as a pod. I'm going to give it to Sis. His biggest score of the year, 128. I've been banging my head against a wall waiting for this, and I didn't catch a game, as I said, but I saw his goal from 50, which I would have loved live, but I guess he just didn't butcher it or have some stupid clangers like he probably did have a couple, because I think he had 4 or 5, but I guess it was just a bit more efficient and had his best game for the year. So, are you interested in him? I know we can speak about him later.
Well, I've got 10 forwards and backs at the moment, including Sheasel and Zeeble. So I've only got 2 slots, and I do really want Darcy Cameron for the right cover because I still stress over English.
You've been set on that, yeah.
And I know it's round 7 and all is going well, but how much longer can it go on for? Because I don't really want to trade him. If he misses 1 or 2 weeks, you just want to field cover for a week. So, and then there's Petrarca, even Walsh's CBA's dropped. So that's 2 games more forward or low CBAs out of 3 for Walsh. So I don't know what the mix there will be. I think we'll discuss it in upgrade target. So I'm a bit hesitant to go on somebody, but at the same time, I need to take value while it's there.
Yep.
And if one of those 2 slots is Sicily, I wouldn't be too upset because I think he's 105 this year, hopefully.
Yeah.
Just Hardwick's just taking so much ball back there. It's a bit of a problem. I don't mind. I think he's a very solid option, but not in a hurry to bring him in.
Yeah, look, it's been a bit painful so far. He's doesn't seem. I don't know. Look, I can't knock a guy that say he's not motivated, but he's been doing some silly things, I'll say. And look, he's always been a bit of a feisty guy, but I don't know. There's been some poor efforts I've seen watching games, so don't know. Don't know how. Look, it's a guy like him is not going to love playing for a team that's clearly bottom 2, bottom 3, and now the captain. I guess he's got to dig deep. But yeah, I think he'll still be fine as an option. Look, we'll get to premiums in a second, but I guess we should address the big elephant in the room, and that is our cash. Where the hell are we going to get enough cash to finish a team from? How many upgrades do you have left? I think, including Sheasel, and you include Zeeble as well. I've still got like 6 to go. So I got enough trades. I got 2 boosts. That side of it's all right. But
how many trades left
on the bench? I got
you
23
like 20?
before
Oh my
trades.
God. Okay.
And 2 boosts. So I know you're in a bit worse position there.
Yeah, the carrying over
doesn't really
matter.
Yeah, I've got more trades.
Yeah, I think
I need rookies to go to.
You need downgrade options, yeah.
And rookies on my bench making money, which it's all dead.
Yeah, it's from my Setterfield, I think, is a must trade. The CBA is still there, and he's capable of scoring okay. But like, we need to hang on to every bit of cash we got. Maybe not everyone is as bad as me personally, or a lot of other people. But yeah, break even at 117. He has to go just in case he free falls, basically. So I don't know, what do we do here? I was looking through, some mid prices or elevated rookies, and there's Rory Atkins, who played down back, took 2 kick-ins, but I think I'd rather wait another week on that. Watching him at the Crows, he loves easy matchups, and usually after a tough matchup, he's in the SNFL the next week. That's usually what happens. So he doesn't seem to like those matchups. Watching him, but playing a cruisy roll down back, I think they use Weller more up the ground. So monitor that, and then like even Dill Williams at 190k. I think JD brought up 166k last week, and it was like, nah, I can't pay 166, and now I'm like, I kind of wish I did.
Oh, I wish I did.
Jeez,
massively.
So I don't know what we're doing. I think Weddle's been putting up decent numbers in the VFL, and he's played down back, which is probably good for him because that's what he did in juniors. And yeah, I remember watching him in the preseason. Played wing in preseason, but his draft highlight's pretty good. Can intercept a bit, but they got so much. Like, what are they going to do down there? They've got 8 defenders at the moment, I think.
They've got like 10. It's a mess. Like, it's just Scrimshaw is the sub. Who got dropped? I can't remember.
DJ MP.
Did he have to play third tall, Weddle? Because I think obviously I'm a Sicily owner. I'm looking, and he's the second key in that team on the weekend. And Dogs have like what, Norton, Lob, Jamara. So you must have been playing on one of them.
I did see Sicily a bit on Norton. I didn't keep it close enough eye.
I reckon it's probably, as I said, I didn't see, but yeah, it's interesting.
Monitor this week, yeah.
They chop and change it every week, so yeah, it's concerning.
But yeah, I was saying like these elevated guys, I'm not too confident in either, so I don't know where to go here. I was looking at Soldo, a ruck forward, 300k, but I saw the Nank injuries. I think I think Nank could be back in 2 weeks, so it's just a pointless exercise.
Oh, really? Didn't even know.
I'm not going to do it, but floated the English to Gorn Bank 170. I don't think that's good, though. You can't do that. That's
last resort.
That's that's how bad it's got. So yeah, I'm not going to do that, obviously.
The old money ball.
Yeah. Like Charlie Kerno's dropped to 180. He's going to make a bit of money, but he's already 500 plus. So
there was those that went Tom Hawkins or whatever for 430 or whatever.
Yeah, that's 140 average. So I think I might have to play it a bit slower and wait to, squeeze a bit more money out of Hopper, squeeze a bit more out of Ashcroft, squeeze a bit more even out of like a Wilmot, or I got rid of Baker, but he's another one that's been going okay and playing really well with, like clear best 22 now. So as much as I hate, so I want to get I've got Wilmot on the field at the moment, looping with Seamus, and I want to get Wilmot off the field, but I'm just thinking I might need to squeeze that little bit extra money, wait for the other premiums to come down a bit, and otherwise I have to use an extra trade, extra boost on this rookie that doesn't exist to downgrade to. So I don't know. So maybe just be a little patient and make sure the end team looks good, not compromising too much, just to get it done a bit earlier. I'm not quite too sure how to play it, to be honest, but I think 1 or 2 weeks here and there I'll have to just downgrade and hope for another downgrade option to come up the week after.
Yeah, we've got to really study teams this week. If we see no more debutants, because I think the 4 that debuted last week, Weddle was 1, two Sydney guys, Sheldrick and then the sub.
No good. They both subbed,
everyone was like 30. I think Weddle, best score 38. Supercoach was Weddle, and his job security is just non-existent.
Ramsden was tall forward 22.
Yeah. Oh, he was the other one. Yeah. So, really need to see if there's any debutants this week because otherwise, we could be in dire straits. I still want to upgrade though. If it's possible, I'm going to do it, and that's sort of why. Setterfield's got to go, and look, he was probably going anyway, but I can just do a 1 up, 1 down, get Chincotta and keep that going. And then I guess it's from then on is when it starts to look like what's happening. If we get no debutants, George, I might look at boosting and getting like an Angwin or something. And look,
I'm thinking
about
that
at all. Like he scored 240s on the wing, and don't know his job security personally. I don't know if anyone knows GWS well enough, but it seems like
I was looking at the list.
2 ins, Ward and Lloyd to come in if they're fit. Or was Ward a suspension? But and if he survives that, maybe he's okay. So that's last resort. Like if we see the teams and there's no rookies debuting at all, like anymore, well then it might just have to go it. So I don't know.
While we're on the topic, should we just do rookies now?
We may as well. We can flip it because they're probably the most important thing.
Yeah. We'll get to like upgrades and stuff like that. But I think obviously you got Chincotta. I just know if Snowbite's can you imagine if he's dropped? Oh, he'll break loose. So we're gonna need him. We're gonna need his money, and he's straight on field for me. So for those that are fielding trash, he can go on the field. He put up like 40 touches in the VFL, close to that. So he's in 102k, absolute blessing, I think. And Cowan, I think, needs a good spell in the 2s. We touched on Angwin, so I'm probably relying. This was the Sydney derby, and I didn't watch this. I watched the other game, whichever that was at the time. People are saying he didn't play super well. Will they play SCG? That's not good for wingers, is it?
Best, no.
So he had 20 touches the week before. I think he was a first rounder a few years ago. Honestly, I'm not too sure. Like, I'm even thinking about boosting out Roberts to Angwin just to bank that 30k, which get me over the line next week, I think, for an upgrade. Any thoughts on him? I guess we could already touched on it. But
look, I watched him play last year. I remember a couple of people might have got him in, and then he was dropped not too long after. So that scares me, I guess. But I would need to see some ins. Like I said, I think Daniel Lloyd and Ward are out of the team, and then there's not much in the VFL, and the rest are sort of injured. If he survives with them back, look, Toby Bedford's in the team, isn't he? That ex Demons
Melbourne,
I think. Yeah. So like he'll be out, I would assume, for Lloyd. If he can survive Ward coming in for problem is Rowson was a sub. It might be it could be real iffy. So, as I said at the start, we got to see what happens with the teams and monitor there. Sam Simpson getting a bit of love in the Discord. Look, he's a good player. I don't doubt that, but he's 166k and he's playing half forward or, medium forward sort of thing. Kicked 2 goals, right, the last 2 weeks. So 80 and 50 something on the weekend. The elevated price really hurts.
He has the Crows at Gym HBA, Richmond, Freo, and then GWS at home over the next 4.
That's decent.
I'm thinking about it.
The price is annoying.
So the time, his job security is interesting. So I think Gary Rowan is injured. I think it's minor. And then, he's basically in for Tyson Stingle, playing a small forward role. Stingle is not too far away. It could be as little as 3 weeks, something like that. Yeah. I honestly don't know. I think they want him in the team, but I don't know if they can fit him in. He got that. He got basically almost killed in the grand final a few years ago, and that concussion issue lingered for a very long time. He came back, I think he had a hamstring issue. Then late last year, his season was ended by a quad issue, but seems to have strung a bit together. So do you care that much about durability
Can't
for
really
rookies? I think you just got to pretend it's not there, and you only need him for like 5 weeks maybe. I don't know. The problem is it completely stuffs up your upgrade next week going this guy. Whereas if you were getting like a 120k player, I'd actually do a proper upgrade. So if it doesn't kill your upgrade, I think it's fine. And you kind of hope he holds because you should get at least like 2-3 weeks out of him. So I don't mind it. They got the nice fixture as well. So yeah, I don't mind it. I'm thinking about it, but it's just means I just can't get a rookie off next week. So that might be what I have to do. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if I'm taking the risk, I'm just going to go Angwin, take the 40k. You know what I mean? And look, can't say anything now on Monday until the teams, but yeah, I guess he does better job security Simpson than Angwin, if I had to guess. But as you said, Stengel's not too far away, and Angwin sort of has that position where it's like it's a wing. It's more specific, and I know they can throw the likes of Jelly out there and stuff. But I think he sort of linked to Cooper Hamilton, who was out the week Angwin came in, and Cooper Hamilton's like TBC on the injury list with a foot, something foot issue. So that seems longish term to me. Do we talk about Ollie Lord? I mean, he's there. I think Toddy Marshall might be back. So look, dead last resort. I almost would just cop the L and not even bother.
He's tall forward. As soon as Marshall's back, he's out. He did a decent job. I think he missed some gimmies. Maybe that was the week before. I don't remember. He looks like a good prospect, but he's not going to score enough.
Yeah.
So he's a pass.
And Dill Williams, look, I don't really want us to talk about it, but I think every super coach are just shaking their head at that one. Plays 2 games, sub the third, and gets subbed in, scores all right, plays the fourth, and scores even better. And now he's 200k, and probably going to play for a few more weeks. So
I think he's in the team for the year. I thought that was his best game. He was intercepting all right. He doesn't really. No, he's a good kick. He's pretty precise with it. So yeah, I think he's going to stay. I can't see him being dropped anytime soon.
Bonner was the sub last week, so I was even like, with Farrell out, he still kind of could get, out, but played really well. But yeah, now he's 200k, and is it really worth it now? Probably not. So yeah.
He's a low disposal guy, but he's like efficient and we got a few intercepts, I think, in the weekend, hence the spike in the score. So
yeah.
Probably pass for 200k. Like he probably gets to low 300s, I think. So I do think you get 100k out of him, and he's got the last buy too. So it's actually quite nice to hold through the buys. So if I'm flushed for trades and boosts, I probably wouldn't mind it, to be honest. I'd probably almost do it, but it just stuffs up upgrades. So it's a hard one. It means I feel like So it's especially me because I had the rookie to go to. I went Sturp. It's I think it's an okay play, but I can't do it.
Well, that's as far as the bubble goes. Really, all there is. Like, there's Wagner maybe, but I think didn't go too well on the waffle.
16 disposals I read. So
Bryn Teakle, but takes a ruck.
We've got. Well, the way I see Teakle is I can see them reverting to Finlayson, Dixon, the way he's getting smashed in the ruck.
Yeah.
With Ken, like we saw Lysette dropped. You never know what he's going to do with the ruck. He's like anti Sam Hayes, like number one, hates him. So yeah, what's the break even? -32. If you have like Radically at R3, I think you could almost do it, but I do worry about what they do with the ruck line. I wouldn't be surprised if they revert to the other 2 tools in the ruck, but not too sure.
And then, as we said before, the ones that have played one, Weddle, Ramsden, a couple of Swans boys. Weddle's probably the only one that I can see possibly coming on. And then the elevator guys like Rory Atkins. The only one. There's someone else.
It's very depressing.
It's so depressing to talk about.
Need to get to a more positive. Need to get some upgrades, a bit more positive.
Oh man,
it's interesting how we play this. It's those that like I don't know how many times I can bring it up, but no Chanley's going to sting a lot more than I thought. It's already stung on field, and now not having access to the extra 200k. Yeah, it's I honestly don't know what to do, but I think it's just patient and hopefully like Seamus and Chincotta can make a bunch for us.
Yeah, even me last week out at 297, he's going to get to almost 400, I'd say, obviously depending how he goes the next two, but it's probably 50-50 chance he gets to 400, and if not, he's 370, 380. So I've just lost another 100 there probably from him after that ton. So that doesn't feel nice either. Yeah, that's a bit of a mistake that just could cost us this year because we just aren't getting cash from anywhere else, and that extra, even for me, like I said, 100 could be pretty pivotal. So
I dare say Chester will be back in 2 weeks.
Oh man,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to go there though. I didn't like what I saw, but I think they moved him. They moved him behind the ball, which was like finally he actually was able to get into the game by doing that. So, and like they have I think he has to play because they have 26 players available. So he's going to travel with them. He'll be there. It's just really
I'd have to trade him back in. I don't know if I'd bloody do that. If you had him,
it was a pretty hard watch, to be honest.
You can celebrate, but yeah.
If you can get me some 30s during the buys on field, I'll be happy. So
that's what it's come to. All right, let's talk some premiums, George. If we're all turf and centre field like we say we are, which we
get
are.
Out of here.
Who are we getting in? So I'll go back to defence, and obviously people might have targeted these guys recently, but I think Will Day, even at 490k now, if you still want a value premium and you weren't sure, you just wanted to see the 1 week of what would happen, I think I would lap that up. Looks good, can find the ball. Sometimes not the greatest user, but hey, he had 30 touches in the weekend and played a bit of half forward at times, and still had 60% CBA. I think it might even continue to rise as he comes back, but maybe not. Nash has been playing very well and sort of inserted himself in there, but he's getting enough. And 490k, I think, is fine for a D5, D6 rest of the year. You agree?
Yeah. It's getting to the point where you can just pay for like the gap between him and like a Sicily and a Sinclair is much. I'd probably rather those two than Day, to be honest.
Possibly, yeah, but
I can see Day outscoring Sicily, but I think Sicily's a bit more secure because a bit more, a bit older, can run out season well, better durability and all that. So, 490k. I think to think it was 360, it would have been nice to get him then, or 400. I think he's still a good target for your D6. What does he average this year? 95 to 100, maybe.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like. He's got a really nice fixture coming up. He's got West Coast and Freo, 2 of the next 3. So Freo this week at Optus, big ground. I think that suits him because Day has a pretty good outside game. Big ground at Optus. Who's he got next? Melbourne, and then West Coast. So should be okay for the short term at least. And he looks really good. So I'd be happy to have him. I don't think he's top 6, but I think he's not far off.
Yeah, I think he falls 7, 8, 9, which, to be fair, might only be a few points per game from who other people might have if they have the optimal defense. We'll loop Sicily in with him. I know you have Day, but for someone who didn't have either, would you still endorse Sicily? Is that what you were getting at for, what is he, 40k more? If you had to make the choice? No, he's 50.
Yeah. Depends how you feel about your future
50K.
upgrades. I'd probably still take Sicily for reasons why I said before. It depends how much you want to value durability. So at least like Day, you had 2 weeks off. Apparently when players get suspended, they get flogged anyway at training.
Probably. They still do a lot on the weekend, I would say.
Yeah, so he's had 2 weeks rest. He's got a bye coming up. Then he's going to finish the year. So we'll get some. He's had, we'll get decent this break that will be nice for him, I guess. So I think Sicily. We spoke about him earlier. I think he's a fine option. I think he's probably 105 this year if they continue to use more players out of defense. Like obviously the kick-ins are well down this year, which is the main reason for putting him at 105. But He's always got the upside for like a 110. So I think he's still a very solid option. Even last year, this was the point last year where he was around the low 500s and then he went absolutely berserk for the rest of the year. So he's got it in him, but yeah, just the kick-ins holding him back a little bit.
Yep. Another guy similar price to Sis Sinclair. I think he'd be a great target this week. Decent fixture coming up, sort of a bit of a marble run, but also some good matchups with teams. Obviously, North this week. Adelaide's not too bad at Adelaide Oval, and then I think he has some more. Oh no, he actually doesn't have that many marble games. He sort of had a couple the last two, so that probably could have gone bigger than what he did. I'll be honest, in those 2 games, still going a bit of midfield in the second half for whatever reason. So maybe that's capping him a little bit. What do you think?
I think he's a great option. I think the fixture is quite nice. You got Hawthorn, you got Richmond, you got West Coast over the next 6 weeks or so, 7 weeks. And if you want to extend that to 9 weeks or 10, it's Gold Coast, St Kilda, and Hawthorn. Sorry, Gold Coast, North and again. Yeah. Hawthorn. So the fixture
that's where the marble run starts. My boy.
Yeah, but I guess this is a long time. The fixture for the rest of the year is fantastic.
Nice. Yeah,
I think the last 2 not great, Geelong, Brisbane, but other than that, it's they've got a lot of the hard games out of the way, like your Collingwoods and whatnot.
And sitting all right, yeah.
So look, I think he's a fantastic option. I probably prefer him to Sicily just because, just on the eye, he always wants the football. I think he had a few like bad turnovers, and his time on ground's been lower. It's usually in the 80s, but it's been like mid 70s the past few weeks for some reason. So fingers crossed. I think he had a really, really long bench stint on the weekend. I think it was they played the early game.
10 minutes, I think.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe he got stuck on the other side of the ground or something. So yeah, 2 weeks in a row, time on ground's been lower. So just he knows how to rack it up. He'll probably get it, 28 touches a game like he is at the moment. And yeah, I'd be pretty comfortable with him. There's not a lot of defenders with the first buy either. I think it's just like him and Lloyd, and Luke Ryan if you want him. But I think he's a very good option.
Yeah, I think I'd peg him as, of those 3 we just spoke about, going to score the most from here on out. But I would still probably lean Day, if depending on your money situation, how your rookies are going, just for that 50k. That could really help you in the next week, maybe for your next upgrade. And look, I think I'll be able to get Sinclair in at some point, and I think I'll want him. I just know that that North matchup this very coming week is nice. But hey, it may never get down his end, but he'll probably work up and find a way to get involved anyway. I think I almost kicked a goal last week. So, and the last guy is Tom Stewart, who I just think I'd love to have him, but probably just have to let go now that we see what's going on with all the rookies, all the cash being made. I mean, he just didn't drop for very long. Got to 570. I think everyone snapped him up, and he's going to be 600 plus for the foreseeable future. So love to get him in at some point. I know he has the good buy. So maybe, after that or whatever, or it sort of helps during the whole buys really. So yeah, it's just his price, George.
Much. He's a good option. He scores 120 in his slate. Basically, it's very annoying to watch. I bet the bullet in other formats, so I can like half enjoy it. But
this is the best one to have him in, to be honest.
So I still think with that buy, you're going to get extra points carrying him over because he'll be easy to cover. So I still think he's like 6'10", something 6'10", like that. Yeah, I still think he's probably slightly unders for what he can do. And they have a lot of GMHBA games for the rest of the year, if it's still called that. I think he's a good option. Would you rather a 600k mid or?
Yeah, we'll get to him.
Yeah.
Look, I guess you can field Chincotta in this week is what I'm thinking in either line, so it doesn't matter too much. But I think a lot of people's mids are bare. They've got a forward or two in there. They've got 10 or 12 forwards and defenders already because of, Zeeble, Sheasel, all that and all that sort of thing. So
Cox and Day as well, came cheap. Yeah.
And the fact we started 4 forwards already. So yeah, maybe you want the mid to sort of shore that up. I know the mid bench is looking dire. That's probably the the worst one of the lot as
if
well.
If I get it laid out, there's problems.
So maybe, you want a mid, which I guess we'll get to now. And there's a couple of cheap ones. So Jack Steele, I know we just spoke about Sinclair, but he's a bit like either people are fully on or in, or they're like, nah, don't want to go near him. And I think I'm more in the don't want to go near him for now. Anyway, I know he's really nice and cheap at 535. And I think his break even is still fairly high, like not high where he's going to drop, but 126. So as we said with Sinclair North this week, that's a very good matchup. Probably the best in the league at the moment. Maybe them and West Coast. So 10 tackles. I guess that is the one thing you'd point to if you're worried about his shoulder, but he's still got some plates and screws in there, doesn't he, George? And that just worries me.
Yeah, it's.
I've got the first game back 2 weeks ago in my mind, watching him going, this guy is not ready to play for football yet. And he looks very much like a lot better week just gone, but I don't know. It just worries me.
Yeah, I think the more you consider Jack Steele, it's directly proportional to how highly you're concerned with your cash gen, and I'm significantly worried. So I'm probably going to bring him in this week.
Yeah.
Now, if you are considering Steele, I think if you have options like other players you want to get instead, I'd probably go that route. There is an interview on SEN with Kane and Jared Healy with Jack Steele probably about less than a week ago.
Yeah.
So they say like he's got like a rod holding it together. He's got 10 screws in there. He said he might get it removed in the off season. But he says he feels no pain. He's not on pain medication. Trying to get like he took a few hits there and just trying to get that confidence in his shoulder basically. I don't think it's going to be an issue for him in terms of it could be if he comes like a massive hit there because you got all that shit in there going on. But look, he tackled really hard. I know Seb's a Saint supporter in our Discord was saying that sometimes he could still hesitate a little bit whether to go in or not in the contest. Injury aside, I think coming to the season, he didn't look 100%. Slowly worked his way into it, but his outside game, I think, is improved. His running is definitely very good. I think it's been well documented about how he's like lost weight in the preseason because Ross told him to. Him and Seb Ross. I don't know if you saw that, but yeah,
I did. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Basically, Ross said, "You guys, need to be more fit. Basically, we're running side now. Drop some weight." So, look, I think for 530K, I'm not quite sure how many mids at this price we're going to get. Now, Jack Steele, you can wait on. I think the smart thing to do is wait. I just want to get him now because I need a mid now, and I need to leave slots in the forward line and defense line because I've only got 2 slots there, basically. So I want to grab a mid. I'll take Jack Steele. I think it's your comments. What were you saying before? Like, doesn't look like super great on the eye. I can see that. I think he's working. He said like in the first half of like when he said like he wasn't good last week, he was saying that like in the first half he was a bit like off the pace. He could kind of feel it, but he worked his way into the game. I think they sent him to Patrick Cripps, just followed him around for the second half. Yeah. The CBAs with that game were in the 40s. They've jumped up to the 80s. So I thought he looked miles better this week than last week. He still doesn't look what he was, and I don't think he's that 125 plus guy anymore, but I think he can do 110. If he does like 105, honestly, I'll still take it for his price. So, and I don't have anyone in that buy round, so I think I've just rambled for 5 minutes on Steele. Hopefully it made sense, but I think it's better to wait a week, but I thought I saw enough for me to take I don't know if you want to call it punt, I guess you could, but yeah, I'll probably bring him in this week.
Yeah. No, it definitely makes sense at the price. Like, you're not going to get, as you said, a mid that's capable of doing 110 sort of numbers at that price, really. Like, the only other one I can think of is maybe like Noah Anderson or something, but he's shot up to 556 now. With no Took for maybe a couple of months. But, 530 is pretty nice for a guy we know that, has done it in the past. And I think you're right in what you're saying with his outside game. That sort of improved to where he can maybe, raise his floor a bit if his contested game is a little bit less. Because, look, I know he had 10 tackles, but I saw a lot of them just sort of, hanging behind a guy, they get the ball, just the instant sort of hug where it's not a big, chase
it's
down.
Zach Merritt special.
You don't have to put a lot into those. And it's funny that you get a tackle for that, whereas if you nail someone chase down, but the handball flicks to a teammate, you don't. So, look, there was a few of them, but he's always going to be in those positions. So I think that's fine. I'm going to wait a week. And if he looks all right again, plays well against North, I'm happy to wait the week and cop a, I don't know, 10K more price next week if it's possible to find a downgrade. So that's where I'm sitting, I think. And I'll go probably someone else this week and just wait one more. The other one's Callum Mills. Was probably a bit harder to read because we know what he can do for sure. He's not under any injury cloud. He's just been playing all over the place. And I guess for good reason. They've had a few injuries down back. He's covered there. Dropped a few 90s. This week, played more midfield again, back up to like 47, almost 50 CBAs, but only scored an 80. So, again, I didn't catch this game on the Saturday. But just maybe didn't find it well enough. I know Luke Parker had a big game or a big 2 or 3 quarters. Errol finished strongly, but he wasn't really playing midfield. So maybe he just didn't, because he's been playing defense for probably 3 weeks. Yeah, maybe a bit more wing as well. Yeah, that's the problem with Mills is he plays about 4 positions, or he can. So whenever a horse is down somewhere or needs to throw somewhere, someone else, he's the one. So we know he can do scoring-wise. And Mills for 530. If you heard that over the last year or so, you would snap that up. But I think we just want to see maybe a week or 2 more of what's happening. So Pies this week, I wouldn't be interested anyway. At the G, I would just leave that, and then they've got Freo and North the next 2. So look, it's tough. They're Love and Rowbottom in there. Parker's always going to be in there. Chad Warner, of course, he's just sort of the 4th guy, and then fills in elsewhere at the minute, and they still want to get Goulden in there when they can. So there's too many guys for me now, but if I see it turn George 1 week and he's still 530, 540, I'm just be like, you know what, stuff it. Get him in.
So he's 530 with 120 break even against the Pies. So just looking at the heat map from last week, like was it Geelong? He played was playing on Tom Hawkins. No, the week before.
Prior. Yeah, he was playing. Called defense the whole game.
Yeah, so that's all. His heat map's all down back, and then his this one is inside mid and wing, which is what I heard.
Yeah, okay.
Now the CBAs went back up. I think they need him in there because they're in a bit of trouble at the moment. How they're going, yeah. Look, you never know. There could be 1 week where he gets 60. There could be another week where he gets 0, depending on injuries. Robbie Fox is out with, I believe it was concussion. He should be back. He's listed as a test. So hopefully he's back. He can play down back.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where we're at the point where there's a bit of hoping because that's sort of the play you need to make. And that's sort of where I'm leaning with Jake still. And it's just not optimal because you can get a guy you're a bit more certain on if you pay a bit more. But that's why plays are cheaper because things have, might have gone wrong.
Yeah.
I'll look at him next week because I think the fixture is not bad. So I had this up before.
Freo North. Yeah.
Oh boy.
But that's just 1 more week away. So
yeah. So after Collingwood this week, it's at the point where I feel like I have to. And that's the thing. Back half of last year, he didn't even do 110, and he was getting like CBAs in the 40s or 50s. So that's probably what you can expect. I think that's a big problem. If you see the CBAs skyrocket to like 70 plus, I'd be surprised. I just remember the interview in the preseason. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm just so happy to play wherever. I'm versatile, and just music to John Longmire's music to his ears, and much to the detriment of us fantasy players." It's not something you should do if you're confident you can get the best players. If you are not confident that you're going to finish a team, well, that's the sort of play you would make, in my opinion. But things can go wrong. So I think his floor's still like 100 from here. If he's getting 40s, CBAs in the 40s, because he only really went back to cover for the McCartan boys, I think. So
yeah, McCartan's back. I've just looked. Malikan, who sort of forgotten but might be required, is back in 1 week. So the real problem here was Rampy, right? Like if he wasn't 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah,
then
but I think
he'd be a lot better. But
he didn't. Heatmap says he didn't play defense. So this week,
yeah,
They took Papley out the CBAs. They put Gordon out of the CBAs.
They love Rowbottom.
Yeah, that Rowbottom, Warner, Parker, just max CBAs each, basically. I think all 70s and 80s. I think it's one we just look at it again next week. Ideally, you wait to the buys, I think. Get a bigger sample, a data sample. Because he could easily be 60 next week and then 30 the week after. Like, that's what it was the first 3 rounds. I think it was like 20, 30, and then 60 or something like that. Who knows, honestly, but 5, 10K, it's, at the price, it could be like a competition winner, but or like a ticket potential to fly up the ranks, or it could be just a headache every week. So, yeah, if you got more money, you got more certainty, but that's where we're at. So, I think monitor next week.
Yeah, if still this week, if I had to choose, and then Callum, I probably need to see one more. So still ahead for me right now, but that could change next week. But yeah, as you said, ideally we don't have to look at either of these guys, but you kind of do when value presents, especially this year. You want to take it now. Value's presenting, I guess, with Clayton Oliver, who's at 650k, which is, I guess, value for him. But non-owners sort of pegged this week as the week to get him. I know that he had North last week, but still had a fairly high break even, and unfortunately for us, didn't go as big as we would have liked.
It was kind of, I didn't have him. Oh, you got him in as well for 700. I think we were panicking.
We both didn't have him. Both saw that.
Neil and Petrarca both went like 170 plus on them.
I had McRae. I saw the opportunity there because McRae, but
yeah,
probably hasn't been that great of a trade. I don't know, but I still rather have Clary. Don't get me wrong, because now people sort of have a question. If you're not an owner of him, you see this cash crisis, are you still getting someone in for $650,000?
Again, same answer.
It's still 200,000 from Setterfield. Like, it's still 200,000 from Setterfield.
I mean, I think he threatened to go massive, and he just cruised in second gear. I think he realized Track was getting the 3 votes.
You have a Track.
He's a good 650 for Oliver's a good price. So if you can get him in and you're confident that you're going to keep upgrading, then I think you do. If not, then just
keep
save 100k on someone, and that 100k will help you get a rookie off next week or the week after. So it just depends. But I still think he's a very good price, and they got the nice run even after North. So Gold Coast this week.
Yeah. His teammate, as we just mentioned before, old Christian Petrarca. Well, under JD getting him in this week, I know, with the big score against North. But it might be for more reason than what I think even JD was getting him for, because it kind of did slip my mind that, only 2-3 weeks ago we got reminded that he was, or alerted that he was only 0.3% off forward DPP, and that came as a surprise. We don't obviously have the numbers, but you look at his CBAs, you see 60, 70, 70, 70, and you go, oh, well, you don't even think about it. But he had that in the first 4 or 5 weeks, and he almost got forward eligibility. So what that indicates is he's, starting centre bounce, a lot like what your Papulis, your Stringer, although Stringer, to be honest, on the weekend was playing probably more just fully on ball. But, they start centre bounce, they rotate forward, and they have someone like, in Melbourne's case, a Sparrow rolling off half forward that Track would, instantly swap with and go play off half forward and still play around the ball, but it doesn't, in Champion Data's thing, doesn't count as midfield. So that was the case. I think the first game after the DPP changes, he had another 60% CBAs without checking, and then on the weekend it was lowered again. So I would say right now, George, he is over the threshold and in DPP territory.
Yeah.
Issue is that's 4 weeks away for the second installment. And the other issue is that if you don't have him, he's now $5.99, has a 170 in his system. And if he is getting forward in 2 weeks, say against Gold Coast and Hawthorn, plays a lot forward, which I guess the theory is against the easy wins or the lesser teams he does tend to. He's going to be 650, 60K by the time you realise he's a must-have, and I don't want another player they have to bring in at that price. If, say you already don't own Clary, you don't want another one who's almost guaranteed F1, maybe F2 for that price. So does it make sense to you to get him in this week?
I can't do it. It's too much. And I know that he's got this big score in him now, so he's gone for however long. I won't be able to get him in straight away if he does get the DPP, like he's tracking, or we think he's tracking to. He's prone to down games. We saw that last year, just destroyed North. I don't think he's even had that many big games this year. He's just had the one monster.
No, he was like 2 90s and then 4 hundreds, pretty flat hundreds. So
yeah, I'll let it go. I'm not paying I can't pay 600, and I know that when he gets the DPP, if he does, he'll be probably out of reach. But I think I missed a bad one. I'll bet against for a bit, and hopefully last year, although he did hit the knee issue into the flu, I think. Or I think the flu lingered for 2 weeks or something, and he got to sub 500. It's at the point where you're waiting for players to play through the flu and drop in price or something. So even Laird basically set out the fourth quarter, really sat the first 10, 15 minutes on the bench, whole subgate there. And, these things, you kind of wait for things to go wrong with the players, and then that's when you pick him up after that. And he's probably one where, with all the mids, like we saw Zach Merritt CBAs randomly drop. You're kind of waiting for things to go wrong and then fix itself up, and then you pick him off. So that's where I'm at the moment. I can't pay 600 for Truck, so I'm not on my radar at the moment. But yeah, in the future, yes.
Something I'll have to think about this week hard, because I can do him. I've got the cash, or I can go to a Sinclair, have 70k in the bank instead of 10 or 20. So it might help me next week. I think we've got a guest or a visitor.
Hey, boys.
He's here.
I heard Petrarca, and I heard some slander, so I just had to drop by real quick.
There was no slander.
We were quite nice, actually, surprisingly.
I praised you, mate. I don't know if it was in your thinking the DPP, JD, was it, when you were bringing him in this week, or
no. I
fixture.
picked him just as a mid. So if he stays mid only, I'm fine with it. I think there was really only one game where he spent considerable time forward, and the rest was all mid and was trending back towards mid. So I didn't really have him pegged as DPP. It's just that Petrarca is a flat track bully. Like, his difference in wins and losses last year was something like plus 30. So when you see a really soft fixture for Petrarca, it was a good time to jump on, especially just given the other constraints within my team. Still got a couple of good games, so I actually don't mind people jumping on. But I think jumping on for the DPP is going to lead to disappointment, because I have a feeling he won't get it.
It's weird. I mean, I just spoke about it with George, but we thought that at the first juncture, and he was 0.3% off with 70% CBA games. So obviously it's that role where he pushes forward quite soon after. And then this week it was only 40 CBAs, right? So the problem is it's 4 weeks away. So you're taking a risk, not a risk, but you're punting on that quite a while out. And as you said,
you're quite happy.
You're still happy with him as a mid. Correct. So I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but with that big score, he will be a big price in a few weeks. So that's my thinking. I can do it, but it might be smarter to get a 540k defender, keep extra money in the bank, because that might be very, very much needed the next couple of weeks. So where are we up to? Yeah, good timing. Merritt. What the hell happened there? I know you were very keen, George.
Oh God, I'm gonna get blamed for this one.
Oh, you're not getting blamed. I mean, I got Walsh, who will speak about
he was
as well, who was similar.
I was watching. I mean, JD can probably speak a bit more, but when he was in the midfield, he was quite effective. He was applying pressure, getting the tackles. Stringer CBAs were 80%. I thought Setterfield, as we were speaking about before, he was terrible. So I can see him potentially leaving the rotation. He was on Dangerfield for a bit, and Danger was probably second BOG to Hawkins, maybe. I think Merritt's CBA should go back up, and he's definitely one I'm keeping my eye on. Hopefully their CBAs are bad for next week, and then they go back up, because he's got the nice run in, I think, 2 weeks.
Really interesting game. So the big change in the midfield was, there's been two. So Hobbs remained in, even though Merritt came back, and that I think that definitely affected things, even though Hobbs himself had pretty low CBAs this week, and Caldwell went backwards as well, all the way to 0. The other big thing that happened was Stringer got 80% CBAs. And this is kind of interesting because this is 2 weeks in a row where Brad Scott's actually given Stringer a pretty important task. So last week, if you remember, he was lining up against Dacos at halfback and then pushing into the midfield with him. And then this week, he was getting some mid-time, but they decided, I think ultimately he was probably the better matchup for Dangerfield and could probably expose him offensively, which he did. Both of them had really good games, but at least Stringer kind of matched him from an output perspective where, trying to put a stopper like a Setterfield on him wasn't really doing much. So I'm quite curious as to what happens with Stringer now, because we've seen in the past, was at the back end of 2021, where he was an excellent pick, where he was getting 80% CBAs. I think it was like round 14 on. Yeah, he did 110. So he's actually like very cheap at the moment, but obviously, durability, injury history, all that stuff at like 390k. But yeah, I'm like curious to see is what they do with the midfield rotations. The other change they made was moving Shield forward, and that's been almost universally praised this week, with Shield going forward and kind of adding something different to our forward line. So selection will be quite interesting because Menzies and Davey both got a rest. We cut a lot of our smalls, added in extra defenders, and then had the extra midfielder as well. And I have a feeling that the balance will change this week. So yeah, what that means, I'm not sure. The other thing to watch out for Merritt is Durham got suspended for 1 week for a sling tackle on blitz. So he's one of our wingers, and Merritt and Setterfield are both the type that could push out and play the wing in absence of Durham. And I'm not really sure who we'd bring in from the twos to replace him. Heppel's got to come back, who was managed, but like that's not the answer in and of itself. So yeah, I think like the problem with Essendon is a lot changed this week, and it's hard to know what will stick versus what was just game plan for Geelong. So I'd be pretty hesitant about jumping on any of them. I'd be worried about Setterfield for sure. If you're a Parish owner, you're probably pleasantly surprised because it doesn't matter kind of what the game script is or how they're moving rotations. They're just going to give him mid-70s CBAs and he'll do his 30 touches in a 105. But yeah, everyone else seems to be in flux. So Merritt, I've still got a keen eye on, especially if he drops price over the next couple of games, which we will see. But of course, it depends on what's happening else. What else is happening with the side and who remains and who goes.
Yeah, I'm still keen at some point, I think. I just might wait and see what happens the next few weeks. And then as we spoke about in previous weeks, the fixture sort of opens up a bit for you guys just before the buys. So I think I'll just continue to see what happens.
It's like, so we play Richmond in round 10 after Port and Brisbane. And then from that point, we have West Coast North, and we have both of them again in round 21 and 22. So those two sides have been leaking massive scores. And if you've got 4 games against those in your last 12, 13 games, that's obviously a really positive sign for anyone you're jumping on. I think there's also like a Freo game in there as well. So yeah, I could see them being really handy pickups like any of the Essendon mids, but I'd be waiting the next couple of weeks of the Port and Brisbane games just to see what adjusts and changes, and then make a decision come around, round 10, round 11, around that time.
Yep, I can agree with all of that. So yeah, just look at him in a few weeks, George, if we even have the ability to do it. Getting any premiums in.
Oh, if he hits 550, he's straight in.
Yeah.
I don't care what the CBAs are. He's in.
A couple of Carlton mids. Mentioned Walsh just off the top. I got him in this week. Didn't catch the game a single second, but just saw they had the 5th highest fantasy score for a team ever. And that probably ended on why they all struggled to score what you would have thought they would with all the ball they had, because they've sort of been doing it that this year a bit, Carlton, flicking it around a lot. And I know against West Coast, that's probably quite easy to do. But yeah, Walsh's CBAs are only about 30-40%. So for whatever reason, George Hewitt generally played like 95% in there. Cripps almost the same. And then Chera's been in pretty good form as well. So, look, I looked at Walsh's heat map. He still was getting ball from back pocket to forward pocket. It's sort of what he does. He still is around the pill all the time. But I don't think against West Coast you get much out of what is truly going to happen for them going forward. So I guess we'll see what happens against Brisbane this week. But at his price now anyway, I don't think I'd be jumping on, especially now we know what the cash crisis we're in. I just wouldn't be looking at him. Any other thoughts on Walsh? I know you guys were worried about his injury or his preseason and off-season anyway.
Yeah, like a preseason's a concern. If all the Blues mids are firing, who actually gets the points? And it's really hard to know this week because literally all of Walsh, Hewitt, Chera, Cripps, like all went basically like 120 plus in fantasy. It was even worse than that as well. Doherty turned up even though he'd been in pretty poor form up until that point, and Kennedy came on and did well with his 25% tog as well. So yeah, I think just at the price point, it's probably pretty hard for me to buy Walsh at the moment. It looks really nice if you just look at his score in isolation, but given that they played West Coast, it's really hard to take much out of it. And then their next three is Brisbane, Pies, and Collingwood. And those are probably three of the hardest teams when it comes to scoring points. Actually, no, I think Brisbane's been all right to score on, but then like Dogs and Pies have been pretty stout.
They just look it all up.
And then like Swans and Melbourne the week after. So if you look at those next five, like genuinely could go 0-5 over them. So that makes it pretty hard for me to actually want to buy into any of the Blues, even though like if I had to pick one, it probably still would be Walsh over Cripps.
Yeah.
With that said, Cripps like 23 contested on the weekend. Like, he's just, a beast again.
6 kicks is very weird though. But that's
6 kicks, 27 handballs, and then 8 tackles, which is nice to see.
Yeah, look, we just don't pay much attention to that game. That would have been the easiest 20 minutes that Kennedy's ever played in his life, I would have thought.
By the way, like if you guys haven't covered it already, how bad was Saturday night football? Like you just wanted any type of interest, and you're swapping between Melbourne North and like Carlton West Coast. You just had to hope you had, like Petrarca or Clary combined with your Sheasel. Otherwise,
Chandler, I'm sure you would have enjoyed it.
Yeah, Chandler was a good watch, but yeah, just outside of that, there was. If you weren't into Supercoach or fantasy, then you could do anything else on your Saturday night this week because those games were bad, even if you supported Melbourne and Carlton.
Yeah. No, so at the start, I didn't catch any games, so I'm quite happy that was all the Saturday night. I didn't see a single second. So,
yeah.
George, you and Walsh, there's not much to be said. You're not going near him.
I still don't mind
the
him.
price anyway.
I can't. I don't know what the CBAs will be. I owned him back half of last year. Was it his back troubling him? Just look, when you're rolling up from half forward, you don't get those opportunities to tackle as much. Marks were down, tackles were down. Again, like, was he carrying something? Probably. I can't pay 610, 620. No.
He only had 5 contested, so that's probably what's down. He still managed 10 tackles somehow. But anyway, we'll talk about another one that's a little bit more interesting because he's cheaper, and that's George Hewitt, who had probably his best game again for the year. But as we said, against West Coast, but he's only 480k. Old George, and we started him for $3.99 last year. He's just had a very poor start to the year by last year's standards, but pumped out at 120. Look, would you be, if you're in that dire straits, would you look at someone who's even 50k cheaper than Steele? I don't think I'd be going near it personally, but George just sort of said JD just said the fixture coming up, but I wouldn't like it.
No, I don't know what he is this year. Like, we saw how good he was last year. I think he had a finger issue as well. Interrupted preseason, had the him and Walsh both had the back surgery. He is an interesting one, and I don't think it's the worst play. He's 480k, and I think he can do 100 to 105 from here, which is okay for his price. Again, it's not optimal, but it is what it is this year. So, CBA's round 1 were quite good. They were 90. He missed a game, I think, with a finger issue. Then there were 73, 29 CBAs, 58, and then 67 back up to 90 this week. I guess you have to go this week because he's 480, and then it's like you're paying probably 510 next week. So, he could be good. I'll probably leave it. Again, like, limited preseason doesn't fill me with confidence. Like, can he get back to his best with the limited preseason? I'm not too sure. So I think I'll let it go, but I can see it. I think it's okay if you want to go for it. I'm not going to talk you out of it. I'm just not 100% sure he's going to recapture that form, but he could. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll probably say no thanks, even though he can outperform that price easily. But I'd rather look at like a forward or something for that price who can do similar, at least, or a defender, as I said.
If he was a defender, would you pick it?
Yeah, probably.
Hewitt?
But again, there's Will Day, similar price. Just, is in better form, and doesn't have harder matchups coming and all that sort of thing. So
hopefully without recovering anything you just have, but like sub 500k mids, it's like Hewitt, Rowell, and Warner.
What's the point?
Yeah, are there any of them that you like?
Probably Chad, because he can sort of go on a big run. But
Swans,
if they turn form, probably too long out from the end of the year for me to do that. So that's like a last 10 weeks sort of hit. Fiorini, I guess, is at least this price. If someone was 330k and you liked them, it's what I would prefer, because there's scope to make a bit of cash. But he actually went down in mid-time on the weekend from weeks prior, and it was, got the puff piece, more mid-time and all that jazz.
More CBAs,
backwards,
they said.
More CBAs, blah, 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 more mid-time. They even mentioned on commentary, I think, early in the game. And that wasn't really true, but he still managed to find a lot of the ball, kick a goal against a pretty horrible Tigers team. So I don't think you take much from that, and you didn't really see the role you wanted, to be perfectly honest. So yes, like a 12 break even, got 100 in the system. But I don't see that really continuing. And they got Melbourne this week. So, if he's playing a bit of an outside game there, I just don't know if I know I wouldn't be going there for sure now. So anything you wanted to see last week didn't really eventuate, besides a good score. That's sort of all you got, and you didn't really get it the way you would have hoped. So no interest from me anyway.
No, not at that price.
Too risky, one with the price, and then two with the lack of CBAs. If you'd seen 60-70% CBAs, then I could totally understand people jumping on board. But yeah, hard no for me. I think Melbourne, West Coast, Brisbane, the next three. I could imagine 2 bad scores and 1 good score coming out of that. I have a feeling. I mean, you would have watched that game closer than any of us, I know. But Fiorini was not having to work very hard to get on the outside and get some uncontested kick mark, and that's where it felt like a lot of his scoring was coming from, especially when the Gold Coast were on top. So I'm just pretty worried. I think that game was very favourable for a role that wasn't particularly good.
Yeah, I watched him because I took the punt in fantasy. He was around stoppages a lot, like throughout the whole game, but he'd start winging a fair bit. He constantly looks for cheap marks. Sometimes they didn't give it to him just because it was like, why am I going to pass to you for 5 meters gain sort of thing. No, not for Supercoach though.
No, I think you might be right for fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say as well, I believe Ned Flanders made a return on the weekend in the 2s and got something like 40 touches, I want to say it was.
I think it was 30 odd.
Yeah. Sorry, did I say 40? And I also said Ned Flanders, which was totally intentional. Yeah. I know his name's Sam. With that, like, I think he's back into the side this week, and the type of role Fiorini was playing was what Flanders was preferred for, like that half forward, kind of pushing up onto the ball, maybe getting a little bit of CBA time. So, I'm a little bit worried about what happens when Flanders comes back, because I assume he's straight back into the side this week.
That was like a Flanders type game from Fiorini in the preseason, really. Like it was. And to be fair, I think, JD, we had 3 or 4 AFL listed players, and they had 22 in that game in the VFL. So
yeah.
But I think, Humphrey got subbed out. He might be in for him. Give that kid a rest or something and play forward, something like that. Anyway, we'll move on. We got a bit more to talk about. Just as far as the forward line, really, like, assuming most people own the ones that they all do. Cogs, maybe Butters are the 2 that people might still not. They're both at a similar price. A few would have got Cogs last week and been decently happy, but I think in Cogs fashion, he probably didn't go as big as he should have, but that's kind of what he does. Picked a couple of goals, but had a few clangers as he does. I'd be still him over Butters personally. I don't know how you sit, George, but just quickly maybe, if that's just between the 2, who would you pick?
I think I've told people Butters earlier in the year, but I think I've switched to Cogs. Simply, one is 80% CBA, the other is 55. So Cogs. His fixture over the next 4 is quite rough, like Dogs, Pies, Saints, Geelong over there. And then like right before his bye is Richmond, North back-to-back, Freo. So maybe you can target him in a month if you don't have him, but he is quite cheap. I'm not even sure he'll be this cheap by then. So low break even of 50. So I'll wait this one out. He's had a few really good games. So maybe a regression one comes, maybe not. But I'll leave it for now. But I'll keep my eye on him.
JD, I know you got Cogs, but
going?
you'd still prefer owning him over Butters, for instance. These are really only two that people don't have, right? So there's not much to talk about down forward.
Yeah, it's hard. I really like Butters as a player. I prefer watching him, I think, to Cogs as well. It's just maybe a little bit hard because part of the reason to pick him was it was a relatively soft fixture for mids, and he hasn't really given you big scores in the last couple of games where Cogs has kept on. And I think, he had a good couple of scores. Well, he had a reasonable score this week of 108, even though Green, Kelly, and Perryman were all back in the side, which is probably the concern. Would he still score as well with everyone in? And he held up all right. I think the thing with Cogs is once again fixtures tough. Like Bulldogs, Collingwood, Saints, Geelong in the next 4 is a very tough matchup for mids. But then after that, it opens up a little bit with Richmond, North, Fremantle. So I don't know. It's a bit hard because I'm not desperate for Cogs at 530k anymore. I think at sub 500 is probably reasonable time, especially with no Green in the side. But now I feel like he's getting closer to reasonably priced. That I'm not jumping on these guys. I think you've got better options, whether it's Steele or Sinclair, that I'd rather look at.
Yep. Fair enough.
If you wanted to get him, it's fine though. It's okay. Yeah. He's going to be top 6 or thereabouts.
Yeah, I think he's someone I'll look at maybe after the harder fixtures pass. See how he goes. I'm not too desperate for someone like that in my team, but yeah, I still think he's a fine option. I still think I'd go him over Butters too, personally, as well. But I still think Butters can do quite well. He's just a bit more of a roller coaster to watch. I mean, they both probably are, to be fair. Butters, you never know what's going to happen and with his body, and Cogs, you never know what's going to happen with the ball. We sort of spoke about the rookies at the start, George, so I guess now we'll just speak about some guys that can be traded out. Setterfield, we can move on. We've spoken about him and flagged him off enough, but I think he's there's 0% chance he's not exiting our teams this week. Jinby, yeah, look, I don't think too many own him anymore, but we can probably just mention him and move past him.
Probably more down back, so less tackles for him.
Yeah. Look, Scott Tigers this week is probably not the worst matchup in the world. Well, it isn't. Yeah, can go. We're calling this segment Who Can Go, and he's definitely one that can go. Fergus is the same.
Yeah.
Very bad score. Unluckily, ran into a post, I think you said, and didn't score after that. So
and he's probably on for a 40, 45, just
don't run into
salt in the wound. Yeah.
The timing of this was hilarious.
Because Seamus.
Yeah, so
I didn't see what happened. What happened?
But Seamus Mitchell gets subbed, right?
And very early, by the way. 10 minutes to go in the third, he gets subbed.
Oh.
And then, go on, and then, so I tweet out, my bench is dead. Mitchell's been subbed, 7 out of 8 are dead. And then it's as I'm hitting tweet, Fergus runs into a pole, running for the ball. Yeah, runs into the goalpost. Yeah, it just looked like the way he hit that he was going to have knocked himself out and he was going to be done too. And that was the last of them gone. So I don't know. Yeah. Hopefully he's okay. That's all I can say.
Well, he spent the last 15 on the bench. So that's slight concern.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. He is someone that I think can go just based on break even, although they have the good matchup this week.
Yeah, it's not the
They were targeting Mitch Lewis a ton.
I was going to say, looking at the stats, obviously, yeah, 10 marks or something. Lewis dominated. Only just kicked 1 goal 4, so he could have gone pretty big. So,
and I think this was the concern. The last 3 weeks where he'd gone 70s, he was the only forward target really, and did a good job. But now they've got some diversity in there, and Mitch has always been, I think, the preferred target over Fergus.
Yeah,
Mitch is a gun as well. I'd love to have him at any club.
Yeah. So he can go. That's the end of that. Radigalia, someone I own, is pretty much in the exact same boat, I'd say, as Fergus. Just watching that game, I did watch that game. He just wasn't intercepting, dropped a couple marks as he's tended to do. But in his good games, he wasn't doing that. But Stuart was lapping up a lot more of the intercepts, and Rat was trying to play lockdown on the weed, and he got destroyed, to be perfectly honest, in the end. What did the weed end with? 5. So yeah, didn't look too great. But back at the cattery, I think it's a lot easier for him to do do what he does. And maybe Adelaide's not the best, but there'll be a lot of, inside 50 ball that he'll have a chance to lap up. So for my personal choice, I'm keeping him over Green. But I still think he's in the category of he can go if you've got him for sure, and you need to look for someone to get rid of. He's done his job. So good on him. And then Max Michelini as well. I think we were saying this before the pod, George. Or was it at the start? He, at 180k, he's been a decent trading. Still not the greatest, but if someone opts to go for him at 240, it's been a disaster. 60, 50, 50, and only got you about 60k. So
yeah. I guess it's like I brought in Callahan for 240. He's actually come good now, but even though he's come good, he's like only made I think 60k since I sold him. So like they spit out a bad one, and their cash gen is destroyed for like a month. So they need to like pump out a massive one. So lesson for next year, like 240k mid prices and rookies. Unless they have like a massive scope, like high CBAs or something, key distributor role, then it's pretty rough for them to be a good pick.
It's hard, right? Because Chandler at 200 was the right call this year. But in previous years, that's backfired. And then we said like with Mickey Max, that backfired. So it's just really hard. Like once you get past like the 160 range, the chance that the pick backfires is so large because it doesn't take much for it to, only make you 50, 60K rather than 120, 150.
Yep. Some players just got to be patient.
Like we're talking about Dill Williams for like even like Chandler 200k, like he'll make the 150, which is good, but he's had to absolutely like tear it up to.
Yeah, he's averaged 80 and been an on-field option, and like it's really rare.
Yeah, but when you got him in, it was 50-50 back to back, and you were going, oh crap, and then he's gone 85-100. So they're rookie players. They're risk for a reason. 200k it works, I'd say, 3% of the time. Than it does. So some players can make you money there. Look, Max, look, we all missed him from the start. Even at 180, I guess he's made 120, but you're still taking a big risk there, and you got him in that week, and him smashed out 100 and played his best game. But obviously he's in the category of who can go, and then we've got someone who's more elevated price, and that's Brodie Grundy. A little bit sick of talking about Grundy, not that we do it too much, but this is I just don't know what you would do in this situation.
I would full send Max Gore and hope he gets.
Is that literally all there is? Just go Max and hope for the best. I mean, he scored more than Max on the weekend. He had more hitouts. What are we doing here?
Shrek looks a lot better than Max at the moment, so I think you probably almost do that, really, unless you needed to bank money and try to finish a team. I think Shrek's 120k more than Max.
All right. Yeah. The only other option that I could think of, because I've been trying for those that have Grundy, even though I have little sympathy because we said this was going to be the problem. You'd have to trade him during upgrade season.
None.
And it probably doesn't work. So Soldo would be the other option, which might get some reaction out of Eno. 85 on the weekend, has West Coast this week. He's still like a couple of games off the bubble, but it
gets reaction out of me because you see what that bozo did when he had a set shot. In like the last quarter.
I know. He's not the best player, but he's sub 300k. He's a ruck, so and he's got forward status as well. So he's someone that you could eventually like trade into the forward line or something. If I don't know.
I think
another week on Gone then just to see like Gone for. I don't know. That's the only other thing I can think of is Soldo.
Yeah, I know. Which, as you were saying, is the reason why we did not endorse this one little bit, but.
I think Nank is back soon. I'll check the updated injury list update on Tuesday.
It was 3 to 4 last week, so maybe 2 to 3. But
all right, would you rather, if you had Ryan, would you rather run Ryan at a R2 for a week and see what happens with Gorn rather than trading Grundy to Gorn this week when Gorn still like hadn't really hit his straps last week and still has more price to drop as well?
I'd run Ryan for a while, to be honest, in that position.
Yeah, I'd run Sampson, and if one of Miller's or dropped or Soldo's rested again, because he only played 50 tog. If one of them's gone, then hell yeah, I'd do that because Sampson had like a 40-point last quarter. So
yeah, he had one quarter where he was playing actual
like, come on, man,
and he smashed
seriously.
it. Why is Miller still getting ruck time ahead of him? I don't get it.
I don't get it. I mean, we have nothing, so
yeah. And if he could just like clunk those marks as well, like the drop to intercept in the fourth, was it when the game was still on the line? Like that's just. killer on points. Like it's another one of those weeks where he could have gone 80, 90.
He genuinely could have 3 tons.
Yeah, he could have scored so much better. Anyway, shouldn't complain too much.
I just sorted by last. Mark Pittenet's playing solid ruck, and he's 350k because is TDK coming back to the side? I don't really know what.
No, I was listening to that after the Geelong stuff.
I think he's gone.
Look, if you were so rogue, you could do that because Pitto's actually not bad first ruck, and he's pretty cheap. But my God, you've gone from Grundy to Pittenet. Like, what are you really doing here? You make 200 though. You make a lot doing it.
The only other one I've seen like bandied around a bit is Blitzer with no Stanley. And look, like when Blitzer is playing like main ruck or like on the ball, that hybrid role, he actually does have really good scoring history. But this is it's the same thing that Grundy did. It's kicking the can down the road. And so what happens when Stanley's back in 3 weeks? I think he's got an eye problem, I want to say, and he was like 3 to 4 weeks, something like that. So he might even be like only 2 weeks away now. So then what happens when Stanley comes back and you've got, Blitzer's maybe gone from 500 to 550 and then you're back in the same situation? Like, what are you doing then? So I don't think you want to get caught into this same trap of just trading ruck to ruck to ruck. Like even the other cheaper ones like Witts, I don't think you can look at just because he's got that back soreness. I think Reeves is kind of interesting with no Meek in the side, but the problem is like Lynch is down now with the concussion. Ramsden wasn't good on the weekend, so Meek probably comes straight back. So I don't think Reeves is really an option. Like this is just rough. Like just get a real ruck and stop doing this.
Get where is he? This guy behind me. If you don't have him, or if you don't have Rowan, get the other. Get one of them two, whichever one you don't have.
Or if you don't care about your season, get Bryn Teakle and then don't just whatever. Run Teakle and Samson Ryan and loop them with Madden. Done.
Yeah. I hate the ruck. That's why we've got 2 set and forgets there. Well, somewhat forget, but anyway, we can move on from Grundy talk.
We've got a few pod questions here. Yeah, I can read some out. Yep. I've filtered out a few of them. Some weird noise going on in my house. All right, so a few questions here. People were asking, first question is, what is the point? I think people are sad about this recession. Keep going, keep at it. We'll get there. Hopefully things turn around. Noah Anderson, boys, any interest? No Took for a while. Nice buy.
Yeah, so the buy is actually probably the most interesting part because one of the difficult parts with all our benches dying is like we generally do rely on rookies, at least for a couple of those rounds, to fill out our best 18. And we don't have that this year. So I think having players that are going to play through, especially like the round 14 and 15 buys, come in a little bit of a premium. So starting to like front load with either Gold Coast Cats, like Swans, Saints, these types of players, all from the first or second buys, actually like quite attractive. I think the difficult part is like I still don't love Gold Coast as a side. I think they're struggling a fair bit. The 556 price tag is quite nice for Anderson, but we kind of touched on it with Fiorini as well, like Melbourne, West Coast, Brisbane, the next 3. So one out of those is like a nice matchup. And then it's Dogs, Adelaide, Carlton in the 3 after that. Like 5 of those 6 games are just not positive matchups for mids. I think Gold Coast probably drops a lot of those games. So I'm probably going to avoid. And then what happens once Miller comes back, and he will come back? Do you really want to have Anderson inside still then? If he catches fire, he could. Like, I mean, he's shown the talent. But yeah, I just think with Miller, Anderson, and Rowell, when they were back on the side, it just the scoring isn't there to like really interest me at his price.
Started a bit slow.
Fantasy, not here for me.
Yes, that probably makes sense.
Format I'd touch him in. I think he's somewhat butchered at times as well. But no, he's definitely capable of going on a big run the next month. But yeah, don't want to be outside of that. So.
Now, JD, this is more for you. Me and Enno probably on different sides of the fence on this one.
Tiebreaker, let's go.
Do you feel comfortable bringing Steele in?
Comfortable is an interesting term. So there is risk in the pick for sure, but you're paying $537. So it's a little bit like Will Day last week. There's risk in the pick, but at 450k, I think the price was worth the risk. And I feel like that's probably the same with Steele this week. Given that he's discounted already 70k on where he started at the season, he's got a nice fixture, he's got a decent buy as well. I think he is probably worth the risk. And we saw the CBA's return last week. He's got through 2 games. He's tackling well. So I have a feeling he is worth the risk. But I can completely understand people remembering the x-ray of that shoulder and going like, there's no way that's a good idea. Like, how quickly can that break again? Which is, I mean, they will put a new plate in, but like, that's probably a good point. And then also he started this year slow and was pretty average towards the back end of last year after the same AC problem. So how much can you really trust him? I think those are all valid concerns as well. So yeah, I can see it going both ways, but I have a feeling he's worth the risk at his price.
It's worth it. Again, I spoke about this before, but if you're considering Steele, there's an interview with, just type in Jack Steele Essendon interview from a week ago. He speaks about his injury for about 2 minutes. So probably more positive things out of that than negative, if you to help you get a bit more confidence in Steele. But I do understand the concerns. So
was that just confirmation bias on your part? Like, you were listening
a little bit,
stuff and ignoring all the red flags that he said as well?
He said he's in no pain.
And once I take the injections, I'm good for the game, buddy.
No, he said he's on no meds or anything.
Okay, so but he is a man of steel.
Yes, but again, the price is the kicker there. JD, this question is from you. How do we plan for next week with from you literally? How do we plan for next week with no good rookies debuting this week?
Yeah. I didn't expect to be here to ask my own question. Yeah, so this is exactly right. Like, so if you look at everyone that played 1 game so far, none of those rookies look good. And so that means who are we downgrading to next week? We're kind of relying on getting some debutants this week that play their first game and look good. And the only name I've heard so far is Drury, who's a small forward for the North, which doesn't really excite me. So let's assume that next week we really don't have any downgrade options. You know, they're kind of like the same quality of like an Angwin or something like that from this week. What do we do? Do we just sit on our hands? Do we try and find mid prices like Fiorini's and stuff? What happens and how do we plan for that? Should we be trying to bank money this week to still do an upgrade next week? Have you guys thought about this at all? Because I'm worrying over nothing and we'll get some rookies popping up, but it seems pretty dire, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, Team Stream is on for this week again, and like you said, if we get a couple debutants that look all right, I mean, we've got to be sure of that before they play right, and then next week get them in before they've played their second game as well, and then hope they play their third. So it's a bit going on. For me, my team, obviously everyone's different. I have, whoever I trade out of Radaglia and Fergus, I'll have one still on the bench. If it looks terrible and there's nothing and there's no one on the horizon, I'm going probably Angwin. Boost and grab Angwin. It doesn't feel nice at all. But if he's playing with Ward and I think Lloyd to come back in, that's probably the route I'd go. Bank 200, 250, depending what premium I get, and that'll help me next week is probably what I'd do. But I guess not everyone's in the same boat. They don't have maybe a couple of 300k players to downgrade. They might not have any boost left. I don't know. So it is team dependent, but that's my sort of last resort if nothing looks good. Otherwise, if there's nothing next week, we won't be doing anything next week.
We're all in the same boat, so I think you boost for Angwin this week to get that extra cash gen in.
Or Simpson, whatever you prefer, but obviously there's 40k difference.
We'll discuss this on Tuesday. Team sheets, I think.
It's tough, but yeah. What do you think, JD? Do you have any boost left?
So I don't have boost, which is actually kind of fortunate because, like,
what are you supposed to boost?
Yeah, exactly. So unless there's injuries, which will really then negatively affect me, there's no double downgrades to do at the moment. So yeah, I think having if you do trades this week and you end up with 100k banked, and then you can put that 100k on someone like Hopper or Warple or Setterfield if you keep him next week. Or if you've got an underperforming Primo that you could correct. So I'm even thinking about do I use this chance to correct a Ridley if I bank 100K, or I don't know, like an Andy Brayshaw or something like that? He's probably too far gone, but that's the only other thing I can really think of. So, but I don't know. I don't think I'd want to double downgrade this week to facilitate that, because like Angwin, I don't think is a particularly good option. I'm not excited about owning him. I think Chincotta's the only one I actually have to get, and maybe if you're in a really nice position, you get Dill Williams. But yeah, like we've been talking about 200K rookies, right? And that's where he's at the moment. So yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling that it might be a correction trade if we don't find anyone, or people are going to have to start going early. And maybe you get a debutant next week that people start jumping on. So if like Fahey finally debuts because of a long-term injury, or Josh Sin for Port, like some of these guys are going to have preseason teams that haven't got a game yet. Maybe that's what happens. But yeah, I'm pretty worried about it. So I think my current plan is like I want to make sure I go for a value option this week. I don't really want to get like a Dawson, Oliver, whatever, and use it at my bank. I want to make sure I've kind of got like 100K, so I can either use it on a correction, or like I'm getting my mid pricer up to someone next week if there's no rookies to facilitate a downgrade.
I could do like boost and get Dill Williams, but 195K is really
annoying. Who are you boosting to him? Like Cowan, you make 10K or something.
No, so like I said with me, I've got Radaglia and Fergus, so there's like 300K guys there that can go.
You could get rid of,
and then I've got 200 in the bank.
I'd actually do that, NO. Personally,
yeah, I just looked at it. It's fieldable, right? As well, he's probably better fieldable than Radaglia.
I think the only concern, right, is like Jonas was suspended. So he's back this week. I think Williams still holds. But then
sub.
And then Farrell was back in 2 to 3 with the jaw. That was last week, so he should be 1 to 2. So like, even though Dill Williams has been good, there's like genuinely a chance he ends up a dead rookie as well. Even though like you paid 200K for him, like it's just so bad.
It is. Look, you get back to back. You'll have negative break even for 2 weeks, kind of guaranteed, because they're 85. So
he plays
50,
2 games
60.
and doesn't get subbed. Like you know,
Farrell's 2 to 3, right? So I was assuming yes.
Yeah, so but he might be 1 to 2 though. He might be 1 to 2 now.
Yeah.
When it updates this week.
I'm worried about Bonner too. He was subbed on, and I didn't take too much notice of how well he played, but Dersma's injured though, right, as well. So maybe that helps. Similar type player who might. I don't know how long he's out either.
Dersma's been playing wing though.
Dill's safe, I think.
George thinks he's safe.
He's good, but yeah. Anyway, I mean, I thought he was safe. I thought he was probably safe for another week before he got dropped. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yep. Keep going.
I've got 2 more questions. Adam Treloar's CBAs have gone to 80% in the past few weeks. At 520, is he someone you'd consider? For me, it's just soft tissue and 30. I couldn't even dream of it, but he looks good.
No.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at those like guys around that price point, that's where still like, you know, stuff like Warner's when their form turns, Brayshaw if their form turns, like those guys are much more interesting to me at similar price point.
Last question from Jurgen Klopp, the man himself. Would you be happy to opt for a lesser premium to get in now, or would you rather like hold off an upgrade to get in a better premium later?
Oh, okay.
So let's say you like go Callum Mills instead of a Walsh. And like
say Mills this week or Walsh next type thing.
No, it's like pretty much, yeah.
Steal or whatever.
So you're basically, are you more concerned with constantly getting rookies off the field now, or would you be more concerned with how your team looks post-bye?
We're starting to hit the turning point where the latter matters more than the former. So for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been getting a pretty big advantage by having one less rookie, because people have been taking 20s and 30s from key forwards while I haven't been. And that's given me points over the last 3 weeks. But we're starting to hit the point where the last rookies on field for people this week are going to be like Chincotta, Ashcroft, and Chandler, for example. And none of those are really that bad. Plus, if you've got loopholes, and everyone's got loopholes at the moment, you're probably not getting too many bad rookie scores anymore. So I think we're starting to get to the point where just like forcing the rookie off the field becomes less valuable than getting the better guy for the run home. With that said, right, so like I think that's concept one. Concept two is we've got this cash generation crisis with all our benches being dead. And so finding the value guys is still important. So like Steele this week is probably still more interesting to me than like even Oliver this week or Oliver next week, just because of the price difference. And I know it's risky and all that type of stuff. And I'd sleep much easier having Oliver, but I think that's the other part you have to consider as well. So Mills is probably not the best example because like who knows what his form is. But yeah, like I'd rather have Steele this week than Walsh next week, for example.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Yeah,
I'd go cheap guys. Yeah.
Probably at this point, I'd be more concerned with what the team looks like post-buy.
I mean, if you didn't have defenders, I'm much more set on those cheap defenders, like as being top, near the top of their line. Steele, Mills, something could go wrong and they might be a bit off. Whereas like your Sinclair, your Sicily, your Day, if you don't have one of them, I'm just grabbing them for sure. That's no problem.
So like I think I'm either going to be at 17 or 18 keepers this week, right? So I've only got 4-ish players I needed left to fill up my side. I've got 19 trades, 4 or 5 players, 19 trades. I'm going to have about 10 trades sideways through the back half of the year. Like you can fix up some of the bad guys you picked up, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure about that?
Yeah.
I think you need more trades. I think you have less left over.
I guess it depends on like who I'm missing out for. You might be right, George. Especially if I don't get the cash from here.
Like the way I see it, I've got 18 trades left and 5 upgrades with 100k in the bank. And honestly, I don't know where the money's coming from. Like I can top up Hopper and Ashcroft, no problem. And maybe Chincott if he makes a lot of money. But other than that, like I honestly don't know where the money's coming from. It's like I'll need new players to come in, make money, and then upgrade during the buys.
I mean, like, yeah, I've still got like Hopper, Warple, Chandler, Ryan, Hollins, Chincotta maybe, and then Mitchell maybe. I don't know. I feel like there's enough there to get 4 to 5 upgrades done if I'm still finding value.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I've kind of taken over hosting, but I think we can wrap it up there. I know you do a great job hosting, but yeah, I thought I'd take it for 10 minutes.
Anyway, I'll quickly shout out, George, before we go to the leagues. We didn't do it at the start, so we're going to do this every week until they're not there, right? Like, why wouldn't we? Yeah, blow our own trumpet, but I think it's the top 11 and like 25 of the top 50, so I don't know. The last 3 weeks, when you look at the single round points, it's just been like flooded, like ridiculous amount of leagues. Like I don't even know what's going on, but everyone seems to be going well. And a lot better than us.
Following good advice, I reckon.
Well,
probably in that.
I guess you're going all right at the minute, but
I think I'm bottom 5 in like every league. I think
we'll give a shout out to Locke, who's top 30 now, and I think this other league has quite a few very high as well.
Henry's 80th.
Zach, Peter. So yeah, there's a few doing well.
Yep. And Henry and Peter, I think, are both like top 5 now for Hall of Fame on live rankings, and I think they're both like top 20 for captain scores this year as well. So they've been killing it, and I think that's part of it. I mean, it's not only the great advice, but it's the Discord community where everyone's chatting and sharing ideas throughout the week, which is how we land on things like the old Marshall vice captain and a bunch of other good trades like Petrarca.
I have one good captain this year. I don't even want to talk about that. What's going on there? Anyway. I think my average is about 99 for captain.
Oh, you're kidding. Can you look
horrible?
Mine would be much more.
It's not much. You go my scores on the side and I've just, Hey, Clary was all right, but it wasn't Marshall. But yes, it's been a long one. We've covered off quite a bit. I most definitely think we should be doing a live stream or at least a video, maybe we do a video where we just take in the teams and on Friday maybe get together like we did last year. But yeah, the rookies, man, it's dire straits at the minute. Constable, everyone just keeps telling me his VFL stats every week, and this is never going to happen, I don't think. But wouldn't that be a godsend?
It's exactly like Fahey. Like injury has to happen because the 3 ahead are locked.
Will Davey come back in, JD?
Hopefully. I think maybe. Like, I don't know.
That 30K could be real handy.
I mean, just having a warm body where I might be able to jag a 50 or 60 every now and again might be good. Like Snelling came on the sub, wasn't particularly good. D'Ambrosio I didn't think was particularly great. Durham's missing a week, but Heppel's got to come back. I don't know. Like, there's a chance that he comes in because I don't think our structure ended up working particularly well. So, yeah, maybe a mid gets dropped and a small forward comes in. But whether that's Davey or Menzies, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Like, MJ looked very good for his second game we had him, and then he just goes and gets himself suspended. Seamus hopefully stays in, but I know Hawks fans aren't super confident. That could always switch. I actually saw Nick Madden, boys, is off the injury report. So could we see a ruck appearance at GWS? That would be the funniest timeline of all time, but I just don't think that's going to happen.
When's Bruce back?
What is happening with Bruce?
Is that the secret golden ticket that no one's talking about? Back 4 weeks. He's still a month away, so Madden's going to get a shot before him.
Ah, yes, what a godsend. Anyway, it's a very interesting year this year. It's turned into after what sort of happened the last couple of weeks. So, I guess who manoeuvres it best, makes the right decisions week to week, will come out on top. So hopefully we can figure out what that is and bring it to the community for the rest of the year. Because I think the community's going to absolutely smash us the rest of the year, to be quite honest. So at least that's they're going well. But yeah. Thanks for joining us on another podcast. We will see you on the next video. Cheers.